The Shining is a 1980 horror film directed by Stanley Kubrick, based on Stephen King's novel of the same name. The film stars Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance, a struggling writer who becomes the winter caretaker at the isolated Overlook Hotel, along with his wife Wendy, Shelley Duvall, and son Danny Lloyd. As the family settles in, Jack begins to unravel, plagued by supernatural forces that seem to be driving him towards madness. The Shining is widely regarded as a classic of the horror genre, and for good reason. The film is a masterclass in atmospheric tension building, as Kubrick expertly crafts an eerie sense of isolation and dread that permeates every frame. The Overlook Hotel itself is a character in its own right, with its labyrinthine halls, empty corridors, and sinister history lending an ominous weight to every scene. At the center of the film's horror is Jack Nicholson's incredible performance as Jack Torrance. Nicholson's portrayal of the character's slow descent into madness is nothing short of brilliant, as he shifts from charming and affable to unhinged and terrifying with chilling ease. As Jack becomes increasingly unstable, his interactions with his family become more and more fraught with tension, culminating in a series of truly disturbing scenes that are etched into the minds of horror fans the world over. But while Nicholson's performance is undoubtedly the film's centerpiece, it's important to note the equally strong work from the rest of the cast. Shelley Duvall's portrayal of Wendy is often maligned for its shrillness and passivity, but her performance is actually quite remarkable in its own right. Duvall's physicality and vulnerability give Wendy a rawness and realism that make her a sympathetic and relatable character, despite the absurdity of the situation she finds herself in. Danny Lloyd, meanwhile, delivers a startlingly mature performance as Danny, the young boy with psychic powers who is caught in the middle of his parents' crumbling marriage and the hotel's malevolent forces. Lloyd's ability to convey the weight of his character's psychic burden is remarkable, and his scenes with Nicholson are some of the film's most powerful. The Shining is also notable for its striking visual style, with Kubrick's meticulous attention to detail resulting in a film that is as visually stunning as it is terrifying. The film's use of color is particularly noteworthy, with the bright reds and blues of the hotel's carpets and wallpaper providing a jarring contrast to the bleakness of the rest of the setting. Kubrick's use of slow, methodical camera movements and symmetrical framing also lend the film an almost hypnotic quality, drawing the viewer deeper into its unsettling world. Of course, no discussion of The Shining would be complete without mentioning the controversies that have surrounded the film since its release. Stephen King himself has been vocal in his displeasure with Kubrick's adaptation, arguing that the film strays too far from the source material and fundamentally misunderstands the character of Jack Torrance. King has also criticized Duvall's portrayal of Wendy, which he feels is too passive and weak-willed. While there is certainly validity to some of these criticisms, it's also worth noting that Kubrick's film is a work of art in its own right, separate from the source material. Kubrick's changes to the story may not always align with King's vision, but they are often effective in their own way, adding layers of ambiguity and complexity that the book does not have. The film's ending, for example, is significantly different from that of the book, but it is also a brilliantly unsettling coda to the film's escalating horror. The Shining is a psychological horror movie directed by Stanley Kubrick, based on the novel of the same name by Stephen King. It was released in 1980 and is considered a classic in the horror genre. The movie stars Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, and Danny Lloyd. The story follows Jack Torrance, Nicholson, an aspiring writer who takes on the job of a caretaker at the isolated Overlook Hotel in Colorado during the winter season. He brings his wife Wendy, Duvall, and son Danny Lloyd with him to the hotel, hoping to find the peace and solitude he needs to finish his writing project. However, the Overlook Hotel has a dark history of its own, and the long winter nights take a toll on Jack's sanity as the hotel's ghosts and malevolent spirits begin to take over his mind. One of the greatest strengths of The Shining is its ability to create a sense of isolation and unease. The hotel is vast and empty, with long hallways and empty rooms that seem to stretch on forever. The lack of music and the constant sound of the wind and snow outside only add to the sense of isolation and loneliness that the characters experience. The hotel itself becomes a character in the movie, with its eerie and haunted atmosphere making it feel like a living, breathing entity. Jack Nicholson's performance as Jack Torrance is also a highlight of the movie. He portrays the character as a man slowly descending into madness, and his transition from a loving father to a homicidal maniac is both terrifying and tragic. Shelley Duvall also delivers a strong performance as Wendy, a woman trying to protect her son from her husband's increasingly violent behavior. In conclusion, The Shining is a masterpiece of the horror genre, and a film that continues to terrify and captivate audiences more than 40 years after its release. Kubrick's attention to detail, Nicholson's powerhouse performance, and the film's haunting visuals all work together to create an experience that is both unsettling and unforgettable. The Shining's enduring legacy can be seen in the countless works of horror that have followed in its wake, from psychological thrillers like Black Swan to haunted house movies like The Conjuring. It has also spawned numerous parodies and homages, cementing its status as a cultural touchstone. Despite its flaws and controversies, The Shining remains a landmark achievement in the horror genre, a film that set a new standard for atmospheric tension and psychological terror. It is a must-see for any fan of horror, or of cinema in general, and a testament to the power of great filmmaking.